Well, some schools miss award, some schools will under award, and some schools will try to compete with other schools. And you got to know whether or not to accept the first award letter. And you got to know how to talk to the people in the financial aid office. Because if you accept the financial aid award letter, guess what? There's no negotiation after that. That is a binding letter. Okay? So let's talk about an appeals letter. An appeals letter. When do appeal letters work? And that's what these are called. When you're negotiating with a college, it's called an appeal letter. Well, here's some examples of some wonderful reasons why you'd want to appeal. A loss of employment. Your husband lost your job over the last year. A death, disability of a parent. That's self-explanatory. If you have a younger sibling going to a private high school, that's a way you can appeal that. If you had some high medical expenses that you weren't expecting this year, or maybe you're expecting next year, you want to appeal that. You want to explain that. Parents just recently went through a divorce or separation, especially since you you filled out the FAFSA form and maybe it doesn't reflect that. Or you had a financial windfall or a one-time increase of income. You inherited some money you didn't think you were going to get. A business failure. Let's say you just recently started a business and it just went under. Well, that wasn't reflected on the FAFSA form, so we need to tell them about that. Or if you're taking care of some elderly parents, well, that's not reflected on the FAFSA form, so we need to talk about that as well. Let them know, hey, this is a drain on our income. These are wonderful ways to appeal the award letter as well, is when colleges miss award. So what do I mean by that? So we saw the averages of the colleges. And if they do not meet the averages, we consider this a miss award, meaning they're trying to get our student for less than they usually do. So that's just a complete miss award. Sometimes they just try to under award. So for example, let's say that your son and daughter is in the top 25%. They're in a green or blue school on our list, meaning they're in the top 25% of the students at that particular school in SAT or ACT scores. I mean, they're very, very good. But based upon the averages, they just didn't give us as much. They just give us an average award letter. So we got to go back and say, you know what? My student is above average. My student is really, really good, really smart, and they would be an asset to your school, so you need to give us more money. Now, of course, you don't take that tone, but that's essentially what you were going to say. And most importantly, if we have competing colleges, like I said before, we want to use that to our advantage. So we can go back to College A and say, hey, College A, we'd love to go to your school. And, my son, my daughter, you're the first college that they would like to go to, but guess what? We have a competing college that they like just as well, or almost as well, and they're offering us more money. Can you meet that? Can you match that? Right? So why do appeal letters fail? Well, there's not enough specifics in the award letter. It's just based upon emotion. And what do I mean by that? You got to be very specific on what you're asking for and what you're requiring and what they need to do. For example, if you say, hey, $10,000, $5,000 will get me into your school, you need to put that in there. You got to be specific. You say, hey, College B gave me $5,000 more, and if you give me $5,000, I'm going to your school. You got to be specific. You don't want to misrepresent facts, okay? And you want to use facts, not opinions. You got to use facts on these appeal letters. Not read by the right person, okay? You got to send this to the right person. We'll talk about that in a minute. Students not competitive. So if those colleges in the red, for example, for your son, you're in the bottom 25%, it's a lot harder to appeal to the colleges because more than likely they're just not going to compete for your son and daughter. Lack of persistence. There's no follow-up. You just send the letter and there's no follow-up by the parents. You just let it go. And again, too emotional in tone. Again, we talked about that. Got to be specific. Also, sending no documentation. So, for example, if you lost your job recently, well, guess what? You got to prove that. You got to send in some documentation and say, hey, you know what? I just lost my job a month ago. That wasn't reflected in the FAFSA form. This letter shows that I lost my job. Or if the letter's poorly written. Again, if you take a negative tone with the colleges, they do not like that. And it's got to be a compelling letter. Now, here's the good news. We have samples of award letters on my website and on the INGAS website. Do you see down here where it says appeal letter template generator? If we click on that button, a little award appeal letter will show up, and you just put in the reason why you're appealing, academic worth, competitive school, so on and so forth, and it's just drop down boxes, and that will kind of give you a start of what an appeal letter should look like. But I just wouldn't leave it there, if that makes sense. I mean, that's just the start of the appeal letter. You got to make the appeal letter your own. So just don't use that carbon copy appeal letter and send that out. I mean, you can, but I think you should make it your own so it sounds like it's coming from you and not just some computer generated appeal letter. If you need some help with the appeal letter, let us know. We'll be glad to help you with that. Sarah will be glad to help you with that. We can review it with you. We can write it for you if you need us to do that. But start with the samples online. So when you're writing these letters, you need to put, of course, who you are. Make sure you have the student's ID on there if you have a student ID. You need to put on, what's been done already, why you need the college's help, how to contact you. Is it by email? Is it by phone? Give them both. Attach your documentation to the letter supporting your facts. Mention that you're going to follow up in a few days for a telephone call. And even better, if you can meet them face to face, that is the best way of doing this. Because it's really easy for a college to tell you over the phone, no. But if you're sitting across from them you're looking them face to face, it is very difficult for them to say no. So if you can set up a face-to-face meeting, that is the best way of doing it. So you'd want to send the award letter, the appeal letter, to the colleges, let them know, call them up, say, I'd like to speak with someone about this, set up a date and time to speak with them, go up there and have all the supporting documentation up there with you, speak with a counselor, and I think you're going to have a lot more success. However, if you're appealing across country, across the United States, to a college that you just can't get to face-to-face, you're just going to have to do it over the phone. Okay. When you send these appeal letters, sign for the delivery receipt. Just make sure someone got that, because I can't tell you how many of these appeal letters have been lost in the mail, if you will, quote unquote, lost in the mail. Expect a reply within 10 days. If you have not heard back within 10 days from the colleges, one way or the other, you got to follow up. Because if you don't, the colleges aren't. They're busy. They're going through a lot of financial aid paperwork. There's a lot of people appealing, and it's up to you. If you do not follow up, that's just not very good. You got to be persistent in this if you want to get some type of, if you want a good ruling, if you will. If it is successful, if you do get some additional money from these college, make sure you acknowledge the financial aid officer or the financial aid administrator, whatever they call themselves. Just send them a nice thank you note and say, thank you very much. If you don't get a great appeal, there's a number of choices. You can go to a different college, and that's why we're doing this, to give you options. You can maybe rework the letter, or if you have some admitted information or some additional information you can share with them to support your claim, you can do that. But you got to be persistent, and that's the key to this. So that's what I wanted to talk with you tonight about. Review this with you. Send me your questions, your emails. I'll make sure I answer those with you. I hope that was helpful, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.